Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 6. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back to another edition of the show this Wednesday, Steelers Nation. Just a quick note, Dave and I are recording this late Tuesday night, so any breaking news that occurs Wednesday morning, we haven't covered that. We'll cover that the next time Dave and I talk. So, Dave, how you doing? Unfortunately, just before recording this, got some bad news on one Will Heyward.
Gloom, despair,
no.
and agony. Oh,
No, not yet.
All right, how about this? Fudge.
Oh, fudge. That is the reaction.
Fudge.
Only he didn't say fudge.
If only we would waited about another 30 minutes of the recap podcast of the Tuesday training camp, we would have had our answer within there. You did a great job of speculating, reading in between the lines of what Mike Tomlin said. I told you to take that damn tinfoil hat off, but tell them the news, Alex.
For those not in the know, and I imagine most Steeler fans are, and if you're waking up to this news, we apologize in advance, but the news is, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Will Heyward leaving practice on Tuesday about midway through, called a right hand injury by Mike Tomlin. Rappaport saying, quote, he suffered a fractured small bone in his hand. Sources say he's having additional tests, but it's likely no surgery is required. He's expected to miss at least 3 weeks, but more info coming, end quote. According to The Athletic's Mike DeFabo, it's the pinky finger on his right hand that is Will Howard's throwing hand. And so essentially, even though no surgery is good news, essentially 3 weeks puts you past the preseason. Preseason runs through August 21st is the finale, meaning we're not going to see Will Heyward certainly the rest of the training camp, almost certainly the rest of the preseason, and he'll hope to get back, for week one, essentially, Dave.
Yeah, damn. I don't know how obviously a lot of people are not happy with that news. One guy that you really wanted to see get some snaps during the preseason, I had talked about, man, I'd really like the chances of him getting 100 snaps during the preseason and get a good look at him before we hopefully don't have to see him for the rest of the season. And now it certainly does look and sound like he's not going to play at all during the preseason. And if that's the case, we're going to have to wait until 2026 to see him under the lights, getting some work. And, obviously at this point now, you just hope that he doesn't need surgery and maybe can resume practicing at the start of the season and get the number 3 reps and go from there. I guess the most positive glass half full outlook here with him is that he got, quite a few snaps in at training camp before this happened, but there's obviously, you're just past the halfway point, and under the lights in the preseason games is really when you get a good look at these guys. And yeah, you never know where these injuries and what position they're going to strike at, and it's disappointing. It's depressing. You got a late round quarterback that you really were hoping to look at during preseason, and you got a good look at him. I won't. So yeah, such is life, right?
Right. And according to Mike Tomlin, and based on some of the tea leaves, the injury happened during a center quarterback exchange. I think it happened maybe the final play of 7 shots, and Heyward went through the second team period, threw a couple passes, and then he went off the field, and his day in his training camp and preseason now seems over. So, I know that it's number 3 quarterback. It's not going to change the outlook from your win-loss projection, and these things happen sometimes, but this was his time to get reps, like you said. The regular season was going to give him hopefully plenty of time to sit and watch and learn and observe and watch a guy like Aaron Rodgers and a veteran like Mason Rudolph go to work. He needed the reps now so the team could find out more about him, so he could find out more about himself. And won't get inside a stadium. So, yeah, as you said, it just sucks, and you hope he gets back as soon as possible, and you go from there. And Dave, it's another rookie that has had a training camp injury that's going to cause him to miss preseason action. Roman Wilson last year, Corey Trice the year before, he missed the entire season. Of course, Trey Fautanu missed a lot of his first summer. I know these things happen, but there's been a bad string of rookies we've only gotten very limited looks at in their first training camp.
Yeah, look, I understand it's only the preseason, and it's hard to make an overarching give an overarching analysis of it all and project forward and all like that. But I mean, game settings against other teams, whether it be preseason, it's one thing to do it, to go in training camp and do something, but it's something about doing something in a more game-like situation during the preseason, regardless if it's against other third stringers. You like to see that, and especially people like me that don't see them during training camp and all. And I mean, it is part of the analysis now, and now you're going to go into you got a good chance of having now going into next year's draft, and nothing's to say that anything that he would have done during the preseason would have changed your outlook of what you're probably going to do in the draft, but. I mean, this guy's going to get 0 snaps now during the preseason, and then the next time first time that we're going to probably be able to see him in a Steelers uniform in a game-like setting is 2026, and it just stinks overall. It stinks for him too. Look, I mean, I'm being selfish here. Yeah, it stinks for me, but it really stinks for him because he was probably chomping at the bit to get out there and show what he could do in a game-like setting, and now you're not going to see it. So, oh well, I'll get happy in the same pair of pants that I got upset in, and I'm sure fans will as well. But now, I mean, we still don't know at this point if Aaron Rodgers is going to play any against the Jaguars on Saturday night, and even if he plays, feels like it'd be about 10 or 12 plays. And then Mason Rudolph, you're probably going to see a little bit of him, and really how much do you really have to see of him? And then Skylar Thompson, I don't know how much that excites you, but you're probably going to see a lot of Skylar Thompson now in this game. And then we'll see come Wednesday morning whether or not this team has to add another quarterback to help with some of these reps, not only in training camp, but some of these snaps in the preseason. And hello, is this Ben DiNucci? I mean, that's essentially probably what you're looking at. Some veteran that can come in and learn things real quick and just absorb preseason snaps that would have, because let's face it, it probably would have been 100 snaps for Will Howard. And if not 100, maybe 80, but where are those 80 snaps going to go to? You got to give them all to Skylar Thompson? I suppose you could, but it would make sense at this point for this team to add another quarterback, regardless of the experience or whatever, just to help you out during preseason and the rest of camp.
No, I agree. I mean, I would expect the fourth quarterback to be added, not maybe as much for training camp. You can get through 3, that you can divvy up the reps evenly, 4-4-4 in the team periods, but for preseason action, because Rodgers, as you said, going to play a little, if at all, in all of these 3 games. You don't want to go into the second half with basically one quarterback left and then force maybe Mason Rudolph, who got his work in, and then come off the bench, or, you just don't want to be in that kind of mess there. Right. So I imagine a veteran, as you said, will get added. Are there any quarterbacks out there with some Arthur Smith ties who know the offense and can pick things up a little bit quicker? Desmond Ridder just got signed.
Ryan Tannehill, of course, right?
Oh my God! Okay, let's not even put that thought into someone's head. I'm waiting for the first person to say the Steelers should trade back for Kenny Pickett or trade for Shedeur Sanders. I'm sure that think piece is coming from somewhere. Certainly won't come from us. But who are some of the quarterbacks? I'm trying to think that Arthur Smith might have worked with in Atlanta. I mean, Kyle Allen's now in Detroit, so that's not an option from last year's roster. I want to take a look at that. We won't have to go through it all.
Yeah, let me. I'm gonna have to pull up the tracker to see who's even unsigned at this point right now. Who might have? Let's see. Let's go to quarterback. Why is that highlighting all these players here? Okay, there's quarterback. Oh, let's see. I don't was Driscoll wasn't with
No, I don't think so.
Bethard? No. Geez, there's no all these guys that look like are signed right here that are on this list here.
Yeah, I mean, who are just some other veteran quarterbacks out there? I haven't even taken the time because we were recording this really shortly after the Howard news broke. That
Let me go back to the preseason for the Falcons 2 years ago. How about that?
That's what I'm trying to look at right now. Let's see.
Quarterbacks. Woodside, is he with anybody right now?
Logan Woodside. Didn't he just get released? That sounds familiar. There's some transaction I thought just happened with Logan Woodside. What happened to him?
I don't know. You must have saw something I didn't. Let me see what happened with Logan Woodside here.
I could be wrong.
This makes for great.
Yeah, we're doing a great job here, you and I.
Great podcast radio. I'm not showing anything right now. I'm gonna have to look on Twitter to see if anything popped up on Twitter now. Now that you said it, you thought
I think he was cut by the Bengals because whenever they brought in Ritter, Woodside got released. And then I think, Woodside had a tryout and a workout with the Ravens the other day, it looks like.
Okay.
So he may still be a free agent. That may be a name to keep an eye on. But I think some veteran will come in because they're going to need the depth there to get through the preseason.
Yeah, who else? Let's see. Passing. Okay. That was that was a second or first preseason game, I think, for Atlanta a couple of years ago. I wonder who was in the second one. Heineke's with somebody, right? And we know Ritter's with somebody, right?
Right. Ritter just signed with the Bengals and Woodside was cut in a corresponding move. The Browns need to stop hoarding all these quarterbers.
Yeah.
Give some to some other teams out there. Yeah,
that's what I get for making fun of them the other day, yesterday. I said when you have 6 quarterbacks, you that means you don't have one. And then you can blame all this on me. I was the one that was really looking forward to seeing who was the quarterback that played against the Steelers in that preseason game. Heineke and Woodside were the two. I don't know. Woodside would be probably as good of a dart throw as any, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just throwing darts. But we'll see. They probably will bring in a couple, work them out, and see who looks the best and go from there. And Teddy Bridgewater just got signed too. So he had that suspension in high school coaching. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, so we'll see. My other thought on Will Howard is, and this is kind of more the extreme, but what if Will Howard has to play in the regular season, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but it really isn't. Over 60 quarterbacks each year in the NFL play. Pittsburgh has had to go to third string quarterbacks multiple times in the last several seasons. So, if that ever comes to pass, which hopefully it doesn't, he would have loved for Howard to get those preseason reps.
Right.
He want his first regular season reps to come, or first NFL reps inside a stadium to come in regular season action when games count. Now, if they get to that point where they bring in a veteran, that's 10 steps ahead. But just one other kind of latent thought in my head about what ifs when it comes to Will Howard, and it looks like he's poised to miss the summer.
Yeah, look, it just goes back to the overarching aspect of you thought this is a kid that's going to get 80 to 100 snaps during the preseason, plain and simple. And now zero. I want to keep your fingers crossed that just hopefully something happens that maybe he can come back for this for the last. I mean, it obviously doesn't sound like it, but I'm going to leave the light on in my head about the extreme possibility of him getting better by the last preseason game.
You're going to Motel 6 it for
and the bad thing about that is that last preseason game is on a Thursday, right?
Yeah, it's that quick turnaround before cutdown. So it's on the 21st. So you are less than 3 weeks, which is the timetable that Rappaport offered. So sucks all around. We'll see. We'll see Howard out there tomorrow if he's got a cast on or something. I don't know if they're going to need that for a pinky finger, but we'll go from there.
All right. What other bad news do you have for us?
Yeah, season's greetings of training camp. So just to recap, Dave and I did the training camp special edition episode that went up earlier, so we won't go through everything about practice on Tuesday. But guys, not practicing on Tuesday: Gareth Warren, Corey Trice Jr., Dante Kent, Alex Highsmith, Calvin Austin, Jalen Ramsey. That was just an off day for Ramsey, and Calvin Anderson, some guys working back, Joey Porter Jr., Asazi Oto Mewa, also Jonnu Smith left with some knee soreness, although Tomlin didn't seem super concerned about that. So Trice, the injuries continue. Austin, I don't know what's going on there, and Highsmith with the groin again. Dave, is this going to be just a forever thing with Alex Highsmith with groin injuries?
Yeah, we talked about that on what I think on the wrap up podcast the other day, and then again, did we talk about it we talked about that on Monday, right? On the Monday show?
Yes, I'm sure we did.
Okay, but anyway, yeah, look, just shut him down right now and get him healthy into the season, because I mean, you go back to last year, I missed 3 games with the groin and then 3 later in the season with an ankle. And yeah, maybe he just tries to ramp up the motor too quick. I don't know, but yeah, we're not going to see him Saturday night. You can count on that. We're not going to see, probably not going to see TJ Watt, not going to see Cam Heyward. I mean, a lot of these guys you weren't going to see anyway. It just goes back. Can I say this one more time? Fudge. Because, man, I was really looking forward to that kid playing quarterback Saturday night. But you're probably not going to see Highsmith. You're probably not going to see Heyward. Who else aren't you going to see? Probably not going to see Queen. Probably not going to see Ramsey. Probably not going to see Slay. We'll see on on Rodgers. You're probably going to want to get that offensive line out there with whoever. So there's that. You got to see.
I mean, if Rodgers sits, Metcalf, I think, will sit too. They'll be tied to the hip.
You're probably not going to see Calvin Austin, right?
Probably. It doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Jonnu Smith now, he's banged up. Probably going to let him rest it out, especially if Rodgers doesn't play. There's going to be that pregame list that usually starts off fairly lengthy as it is, will grow by the time the game kicks off and probably be about 17, 18 players long. And then go from there. But man, I'm not going to dwell on it. But I sure was looking forward to seeing Will Howard. There goes my Will Howard to Rock Taylor touchdown projection.
Oh yeah,
during the preseason, and I'm the cause of all this because I was the one saying he's going to play 100 snaps during the preseason. But anyway, we're anything else on the injury front? I mean, it doesn't sound like the Jonnu Smith thing is that serious, but it's probably going to be enough to sideline him for Saturday night. Sounds like at least for right now, the starting offensive line is intact. It doesn't sound like what's going to be the deal with Warren and Porter and Kent and some of these other guys come game time.
Porter might play. He's going in the right direction. So that's some positive news. The other guys we will see, Gareth Warren working his way back. Doesn't seem to be too severe, but maybe too many reps missed if he can't get back out there by Wednesday's practice. So Will Howard, by the way, just a quick evaluation. Thought it was a good training camp for him. He looked composed. I think the phrase that I and also quarterbacks coach Tom Orth later used was the moment didn't seem too big for him. I don't want to say it was fantastic. There were the exchange issues, which were a reoccurring problem, but knew where to go with the football, good with his progressions, overall playing pretty clean from a decision-making accuracy standpoint. So if you want any sort of good news here, at least there was some positive things in training camp with Will Howard. And technically, Dave, I do win the 100 snap over-under on preseason snaps.
Oh, Howard, come right? On now. We always classify those with the barring injury.
Let me have the win here. No, it's null and void. I guess
it's just the bet comes off the board. I mean, all of that comes off the board now. So
all right, fair enough. But listen, I would love to be wrong. I would have loved to be wrong, and especially after watching Will Howard, I would certainly traded my rightness for Will Howard being healthy. Unfortunately,
yeah, but you didn't. I mean, yeah, you gotta have the clarifier within there.
Sure. I mean, there were terms and conditions with this.
One, yeah. Don't make me madder than I'm already am.
All right, Dave. Let's move on here. Let's brief transaction roundup again. We've covered some of this already, so we'll kind of breeze through it. Really, I think the one notable one is another Porter has joined the Steelers roster. Dave Darryl Porter Jr. signed with the team to give them some cornerback depth with the injuries, especially to Dante Kent and Corey Trice Jr., who do not seem close to a return, even though Porter's getting back. And as you said, Ramsey and Slay will play very little, if at all, probably won't play in this preseason opener and probably not get a ton of snaps in the preseason as a whole. And so Porter will join the team. He is wearing number 39. So don't adjust your TVs whenever you see late in the fourth quarter against the Jaguars Saturday, and number 39 is running out there. That is Daryl Porter Jr., the son of Daryl Porter Sr., who was drafted by the Steelers in the 6th round of the late 90s. So interesting tie-in there.
Somebody going to think Minkah Fitzpatrick shrunk.
Yeah, you trade. Omar got him back. Great job, Omar.
Boy, got a lot of Porters and got a lot of juniors on this team now, right? How many juniors we got?
Too many. A corner, especially. Beanie Bishop Jr., Corey Trish Jr., JPJ, Daryl Porter Jr.
Yeah. All right. He's going to obviously probably get a lot of burn late in the game because of some of the potentially because of these corners being dinged up as well on top of it there. So we'll see if we got more transactions. Maybe they bring back that tight end they just waived as well too, with Jonnu dinged up now too, right?
Right, and a corresponding move to get Daryl Porter Jr. on the roster, Kevin Fulch, was waived. He was brought in after DJ Thomas Jones got hurt, and then he returned. So we'll see if he yo-yos back or not. I think he'll try to maybe get away with not having to make that transaction, but we shall see.
Yeah, they already yo-yoed Dominique Davis, right? So hope Kevin didn't get on a plane or anything. Let's see. Tell the people about Dean Lowry.
Dean Lowry, in an Instagram post on Tuesday night announcing the injury he suffered that put him on injured reserve was to his ACL. We can reasonably assume it's a torn ACL. He said it'll likely end his season, although he's on IR right now. So barring some sort of settlement, which won't happen for an injury this severe, his season is already over. He will not be eligible to return later this year under that, designated to return label. So that's unfortunate for him. Seems to be the right knee with Dean Lowry. Mentioned that, saw a lot of padding underneath the joggers he was wearing during Sunday's practice. So unfortunate, but that is the situation for veteran Dean Lowry.
All right, that mystery solved now. The only other mystery related to him is whether or not he's going to IR on his full salary or a split salary. And I'd have to imagine it's probably his full salary, which is for this year. Let's check real quick. $2.5 million. So that's a lot that's a hefty charge to carry on your IR for a season. We'll have to see.
How will we find out if it's split salary or not?
Once in a few more days, I'll just double check with Joel Corey, see if he's got a split in there.
All right. I'm guessing he doesn't either because that was a 2-year deal he signed. And
yeah, $2.5 million base salary. I kind of doubt there's a split in there.
All right, Dave, let's talk about the here and now, the players who are on the roster. Pittsburgh releasing its first depth chart of the preseason. It is unofficial. It is NFL mandated. There's about 5 or 6 things in there that don't match what's actually happening on the field. So take it with many, many grains of salt. But the first depth chart is released, Dave.
You would think as long as we've been doing this and as long as we've been cautioning people on this and as long as other people have been people would not get so upset under these things. We pass them along because the team passes them along. The team's required. All teams are required to, just for media purposes, to release some sort of depth chart ahead of every preseason game. And some take them more serious than others. The Steelers really don't take these things serious at all. And people still get upset over it. A lot of times the Steelers will list players in here based on, how veteran they are, because I imagine they just don't want to hurt any feelings or whatnot. And I guess the best place to start is with you, Alex, is what's wrong on here.
How much time do you have? I mean, there's nothing. The starters are obviously the starters. There's not a lot there. It's a lot of small, nerdy things that may not mean a lot in the grand scheme of things, but some notable ones that I'm seeing, they have Doug Nestor and Gareth Warren at right tackle, 3rd and 4th string, respectively. Neither have played right tackle. Nestor's been at left and right guard. Warren's been at left tackle. 3rd team when healthy, so that's completely just not matching what's happening on the field. Caleb Johnson listed behind Kenneth Gainwell. Johnson has consistently run ahead of Gainwell. Now, they're 2 different styles, and they can mix and match. But are you talking about who kind of comes in behind Jalen Warren, it's always been Caleb Johnson. What else? Robert Woods ahead of Roman Wilson. That's not how it's worked out on the field. Scotty Miller ahead of Ben Skoranek. Same thing. I would put Skoranek as your number 4. Metcalf, Austin, Wilson, your top 3. It's been Woods and Miller kind of fighting behind them. Let's see. Defensively, nose tackle, Y.A. Black. No, he's not been a nose tackle. He's been a defensive end, a right defensive end, and some defensive tackle in sub. They have, what else? Are they kind of messing up on here? That might be the bulk of it overall. I'm just looking at it one last time through the list, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of things that are inaccurate. But again, Pittsburgh does it only because they have to comply with the NFL mandate.
I think the only one of the major thing that jumps out is the or in there between Corliss Waitman and Cameron Johnston.
Right. So that's considered the co-punters. Danny Smith talked about that being a battle. So we'll see. Both have punted well and both get inside a stadium and go from there, but they have good NFL resumes. Johnston throughout his career and Waitman last year replacing the injured Johnston. Also in the return game, they only list 2 returners, but a bunch of different guys have gotten work. And so don't freak out. You don't see a Max Hurlman or I don't know, Dante Kent, even though Kent is hurt right now. Keyshawn Williams, those guys will all get some work. How about the or on Pat Frymuth and Jonnu Smith, kind of co-starting tight ends?
Yeah, I just view that as they didn't want to run 13 personnel on the depth chart they ran. Look, but don't read too much into that. You're going to see both those guys on the field plenty, along with, Darnell Washington get snaps as well, too. So it all depends on down distance, everything that goes along with that. I think they just did that not to hurt any feelings.
Right. And those guys getting paid handsomely, so they'll have the or tag for both making a whole lot of money. But I think everything on the step chart looks okay.
Yeah, Pat Frymuth was on the team ahead of Jonnu Smith, so that's why he's listed first in the or.
Right. And like you said, a lot of veteran deference here, and that seems to be, validated by Johnson being behind Gainwell and Woods ahead of Wilson, even though on the field those things have not been the case. But it's out there. They'll have a second one. They'll have one, I think, before each game they have to. It'll mainly be just changed because of injuries and guys who get added to the roster and deleted from the roster. But yeah, really take these things with a big grain of salt.
Yeah, heck, they even have the tight end we just talked about still on there, and he was waived, Kevin Fulch. So we'll have to see. Maybe he comes back before the game and and makes this right again and all. So look, a lot of these guys aren't even a good, as we already rattled off. A lot of these guys probably aren't even going to play against the Jaguars and all. So we'll see, and we'll chart it all, and we'll have a lot to talk about after the game as far as who did play. Look, I'm expecting it to roll pretty much the way you've laid it out throughout training camp here. Might we see why Black at some nose tackle later in the game? I suppose that's plausible, but it hasn't happened during camp, right?
Right. Not a single snap that I'm aware of, although Y.A. Black was getting some first-team reps at right defensive end today, which is interesting. I know Cam Heyward got the day off, and so that's one reason for it. But Loudermilk had been getting those snaps previously. Loudermilk practiced today, but Black was getting the nod. Also saw a 4 down front, 4 defensive linemen, true defensive linemen, not counting the outside linebackers. It was Harmon and Benton and I think Loudermilk and Black with the other 2. So can we see that a little bit in this game? I don't know if we'll actually see that because they're not game planning. Probably don't want to tip their hand that openly, but interesting to kind of note how they might have some different D-line groupings against some run-heavy teams or run-heavy situations during the regular season.
All right, and anything else to add about the depth chart?
I mean, again, it's just a lot of nerdy nitpicking things. They don't have a third-team center, even though Max Sharping and Nick Broker have gotten reps there. But just again, I really would not read a single thing into the depth chart, especially the first one.
All right, well done.
Mike Tomlin speaking to the media after practice. I don't know if he had anything super interesting to say. I know a bunch of players spoke today. TJ Watt, I think Derek Carman spoke. I'm just trying to catch up on some of that. Roman Wilson speaking after a really solid practice, probably his best by far of training camp. Anything quotable and notable stick out to you, Dave?
All right, let's see. I think he talked about, well, first and foremost about Alex Highsmith. Don't know the length of time. It'll be a couple of days at least for sure. We'll play it by ear. So there's that on that. What'd you see from Aaron Rodgers? You know, he's in complete command. I've seen some things that I've seen from the opposing sideline over the years in terms of his ability to take advantage of substitution changes and so forth. He's been doing it at a high level for a long time. And so not surprised by that. Because that came up, have you seen him take advantage of something like that so far in camp?
I'm sorry, what was it again?
The substitution changes. Have you seen Aaron catch anybody on a substitution change in any of the camp stuff?
No, just because you're not going like true no huddle in tempo, and guys will sub in and out, and the defense will usually get the chance to sub, make sure they get the right personnel, because you don't want a bad rep defensively where it's only 10 guys or something like that. So I haven't seen that. What I have heard more than seen is the cadence, and Aaron Rodgers using that cadence very similar to Russell Wilson last year, very good on the cadence, not just in terms of the hard count, but being able to draw out his count and dummy counts and those types of things. So you're hearing those tricks of the trade. I know players have talked about that. Watts talked about how frustrating it is to try to time the cadence of Aaron Rodgers because he tries to really keep them off balance. And those are the tricks and trades of a veteran quarterback. Cadence is a weapon. It is an asset, and Rodgers certainly uses it.
Yeah, he does indeed. I just wonder why Mike Tomlin would bring that up as part of talking about Aaron Rodgers on a Tuesday.
I mean, maybe something's come up that I missed. I'm not sure, and it maybe just be maybe more of a global thing when he went back and watched the tape of him this past year. Obviously, it's something that Rodgers can do. I just don't think training camp is the best setting to really display that.
He was asked, "Who are you going to start on Saturday?" Laughing, I can't see past Wednesday at this juncture. At this stage of development, Saturday is a long way away. Seriously, we're just trying to have good days, Mike Tomlin said. So still don't know about that. And I have yet to see any kind of media announcement that Mike Tomlin's going to hold a kind of a pregame press conference, if you will. Do you remember?
He's got to do it.
Surely he is, right?
Yeah. This will be another part of great podcast, but when did he do the press conference before the first preseason game last year?
I thought it was Tuesday, but I might be wrong.
Hold on, there might be audio playing here. Let me try to pause it really quick.
All right.
Okay, nope, hitting wrong buttons. Let's see, this happened August 7th of 2024. Who wants to pull up the 2024 preseason schedule for the Steelers and see where that fell in relation to August 7th? There was August 9th was the preseason opener, so 2 days before, which would be Thursday.
All right, let's see. What else did he have to say? Oh, he was asked about Jack Sawyer, what he's seen from him, the progress of Jack Sawyer. He says he's done a nice job. He's highly competitive. I'm equally as impressed with what he's doing in special teams because essentially he played defensive end at college. He's playing on his feet and playing in some space and doing a nice job. So that's a nice update from him. Sawyer talked to the media earlier in the day, too, really praised all the other outside linebackers. Watt, Highsmith, Herbig for just helping them along and picking their brain and those kind of things. So the kind of stuff that you'd love to hear. And look, I'm going to shift my focus now, I guess, from really being excited to watch Will Howard play on Saturday against the Jaguars to guys like the other Captain Obvious ones, guys like Caleb Johnson, the rest of this rookie class, and guys like Rock Taylor, obviously Derek Harmon, but we as we talked about a few times already with Watt and Highsmith not unlikely, very unlikely to play on Saturday night. We're going to see a lot of Jack Sawyer, and hopefully I just did not jinx him on these remaining practices, because I think now we have a good chance of Jack Sawyer being a guy on this team that potentially leads the team in total snaps, both defense and special teams throughout the preseason.
I'm trying to think of a good number. We may have to workshop it, you and I, Dave, but over under 199.5 total snaps for Jack Sawyer in the 3 preseason games. That's defense and special teams.
Oh, it's going to be under that because you're going to be lucky to play 200 snaps during the preseason, right?
Well, special teams too. If he's playing 20 or
Okay.
30, well, I mean, maybe 30 is pushing it, but 20 a game there. I mean, maybe I should lower the number. I don't know. You tell me 150 and a half. What's a good number to put on it?
Let's see. 65. Let's go 68. 68 a game times 3. I mean, that's almost what 210,
But that's just defense.
right? But that and then 15 a game in special teams. That's 45. So that puts us around 250, I guess, right?
Total snaps, you're saying, across the
Right,
board.
right, between
Okay.
defense and special teams. So I don't know, maybe 185 and a half over and under.
I think I'll take the under on it.
Yeah, because they're going to want to get some guys some other snaps as well too.
I
What
think we
would?
should lower the over under to.
Yeah, how
I
about
think my
100?
150 and a half was a good number.
All right, I'll take the over of that then.
All right, I'll be different. I'll take the under just to see, have something to fight over.
All right, all
And if
right.
he gets hurt, then we're done playing this game. Correct?
Yeah,
Retiring this game.
I don't think people. I don't think people want us to play the game.
That's probably true. Or like a final destination for football players, kind of thing. All right, Dave. What else? What do you want to hear from Mike Tomlin? We may not have a podcast before Tomlin speaks, if he does speak on Thursday. What are you looking to hear out of Mike Tomlin? Obviously, you want to hear about will Rodgers play? What will be level of participation? I think we'll get an answer of whether or not Rodgers will play or not. Tomlin usually gives at least that information. Now, how much he'll play and what other guys will play may be harder to figure out. I assume if Rodgers is going, Metcalf will go, and they'll have some pieces in there to give him some weapons to throw to. But what are you looking to hear from Mike Tomlin whenever he speaks?
Yeah, I'd ask him, look, how long do you want to play this starting offensive line that's, obviously needs to come together quickly this year?
You know what the answer is to that? A lot. Play this group a lot. Now, say Malu, unless will only play, I think, if Rodgers plays, and will only play until Rodgers exits. He usually gets the pretty quick hook there, especially coming off that minor injury. But the other guys, the young guys, from Jones to Fautanu to Frazier to McCormick, I'd give him the first half.
I guess another question is how much do you want to see out of a guy like Peyton Wilson in his second season, and Roman Wilson? Obviously, you want to see a lot of Roman because you barely got to see any of him. You guys saw none of him during the preseason, only 5 snaps during the regular season. But how much does he want to see out of Peyton Wilson in the preseason? Guy that played a lot for you last year. But do you need to see a lot? Do you need to see a lot out of Peyton Wilson? Should be the question during the preseason.
Right. And how much for the starting defense? Because in one bucket, you sit there and say this defense is talented. Let's keep them healthy. But another, it's new pieces and they need to communicate and work on that. And that's going to be a component. That was a component of what really did this team in last year. So you want to rep it right now. So you play the starting defense maybe more than you otherwise would if there were a lot of guys returning and established Steelers. They're established NFL players, but as a collective in Pittsburgh, maybe you get them some extra snaps.
Right. So you would think that you want to see quite a bit out of Peyton Wilson. Look, Malik Harrison's new to this team. You want to see a lot of him. Cole Holcomb missed all of last season. You're probably going to see a lot of him. How much of Joey Porter does he need to see throughout the preseason?
I think a decent amount is fine to do, but I'm thinking about like Patrick Queen, a guy that may not normally need those reps, but don't you want him out there communicating and working on those things that were issues at the end of last year?
Yeah, but if he does play Saturday night, the pads are going to come off quick, right?
I think, but there's some value, I think, in getting him out there as that defense. And even Ramsey, I don't think Ramsey will play, but with him moving around, don't you want to have that in-stadium experience of these guys moving around so it's not completely new to them inside a stadium come week 1?
Yeah, and look, I mean, you got new components in Thornhill back there, and you gotta have you gotta have that spine. We talked about that spine. That defense got to be a lot better.
Plus, they're doing some new stuff schematically. I don't know how much they'll tip their hand inside a stadium, but if you're going to do some of these new schematic things with some of the kind of mug looks and off-ball outside linebackers and Ramsey flipping around, I think it's good to get some in-stadium exposure for all that.
Yeah, we'll probably get a lot of non-answers come, what is it, Thursday, you said?
That's when he did it last year, 2 days before the preseason opener, which puts it Thursday this year. But we'll see overall. What do you, I guess we'll save it more at the Friday show. What you're looking for in particular out of this
Right.
first preseason game. So, anything else from any other players that caught your attention, Dave?
I didn't get to look at the Roman Wilson thing, what he had to say, but let's talk a little bit about Roman Wilson. What kind of week has Roman Wilson had, or last several practices?
It had been a quiet camp overall. There had been a slight uptick in production. It was a really quiet first 4 days, that acclimation period where he caught literally one pass in team period. He caught a couple more the next four practices that were largely in pads, but Tuesday was his best day. A really good sliding catch in 7 shots, a big 30-yard completion, middle of the field during a later team period, and just a better connection between him and Aaron Rodgers. So it is just one day. I always say you want to stack him. I think Wilson has a really good attitude and approach and recognizes that. And part of the comments he made to the media after practice today wasn't getting too high on the moment, just going to go to work tomorrow or today, Wednesday for those listening. But a little sign of life for the offense and for Roman Wilson, and both those things were, I think, definitely needed.
All right. How much have you seen of Roman Wilson, whether it be in either team or in individual type drills of him trying to get off press or anything?
I'm sure it's happened more in the individual setting because it is more one-on-one. You're not going to really play off coverage in those types of settings. So it's not something I've been able to really have a clean takeaway from. I'm sure it's happened, especially when you're facing some of these big corners like Ramsey and Porter and Slay, guys who want to be physical. Pittsburgh playing probably more man coverage this year than they have in the past, but I haven't gotten a good gauge on it yet. And certainly that's one reason why you would want to give him a lot of burn in the preseason.
Right. And even with the kind of the makeshift backs on backers on Tuesday, how have you seen Caleb Johnson progress in that?
I would use that word. There's been some progression there. I still think he's got some work to do, but there's good posture, better posture than the first backs on backers last Wednesday. There's good fight in him. I don't think he's shying away from that. How many times this offseason did he say, I got to work on pass pro? I got to get better in pass protection. So I think he certainly is aware of the need there. Learning from Jalen Warren, those guys walk out to practice every single day. So all of that is good. Now, how well can you do it is a whole different question still. And I think there's still some question marks about him as a receiver. He's had a couple drops. Has not been really involved in the passing game. The pass pro has still been a little shaky overall, to be expected for a rookie. So you do wonder if those will be limiting factors in terms of his playing time, especially on third down or in passing situations. But as a runner, I still think there's some really impressive traits and tools there.
All right, and I know it's hard because of not because of the position he plays and all like that. But what is your overarching thoughts on Derek Harmon at this stage of the training camp?
As advertised, he's a guy that's big. He's even bigger than it looks on his college tape. I mean, this guy's built. I mean, he makes Benton look small, and
Wow.
Benton's not a small guy, and he's added weight this year, and Benton looks good. And Harmon is bigger than Keanu Benton, is taller and probably thicker as well. But quick first step. He's a guy that has a lot of tools in his tool belt, kind of like Jack Sawyer, but he's a guy that strings together rush moves. It's never just one rush move and then that stalls out and he's kind of done. He's always trying to get that second counter move going. I know he's talked about the need to win with that initial move more often, and that's an important thing because you can't always rely on that second move to work in time because the ball is going to get a lot quicker at the NFL level. But really good first step, good rip move, active hands, good in the run game. Just, I think everything you saw at Oregon, you're seeing in Pittsburgh.
All right, and you've also noted that Falatano seems to be putting together a good camp, right?
I think so. I'm excited for this guy. I want to see him inside a stadium. I don't know how many snaps he'll get. Hopefully about a half, I think will be good for him and the young offensive line. But it's been good to see him against TJ Watt each day. Hasn't won every rep. Wouldn't expect him to, but certainly a great guy to make yourself better and make that game a whole lot easier whenever he steps inside a stadium versus somebody else. But he does a great job with being able to seal the edge. He really defends those speed outside rushes exceptionally well. It's really hard to get around him wide. The concern, and it's been a little less of a concern the last couple of days, but just overall and what I've seen from him last year and this year was his, and I've talked about this before, but defending power, defending the inside counters are going to be his key. If he can do that, then you're aces. But I think he's a little bit weaker on some of those inside rush moves.
We already mentioned Cole Holcomb a little while ago, but does Cole Holcomb look look like the Cole Holcomb that you remember?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's been healthy. He's been active every single day. He's been practicing, which is awesome. Obviously, he had a really good start to camp. Maybe a little bit quieter since, but these things always ebb and flow. And just him being healthy and available is good. He's been working on special teams. You're going to see him on the punt coverage team. I'm sure is probably one of the wings in the preseason. So yeah, he looks good out there, which is great news. Obviously.
All right, how about some around the NFL stuff? Sounds like Keenan Allen's signing back with the Chargers, so that's a free agent wide receiver. What was the money on him? 8? Was it
Over
8?
8 million. It's got to be incentives in there.
Yeah, that's got to be an up to, right?
I don't know if that
There.
was the language used, but yeah, I mean, he had said he wasn't coming to Pittsburgh anyway. I didn't really have a big desire to go add Keenan Allen, but yeah, he's off the board.
What do you think about Ben Roethlisberger saying on his podcast he wants to see the whole offense on the field in the preseason?
He wants the whole offense as in one game, or
Let's
did
see
he?
here. I'll read you the direct
Okay.
quote on him. If I'm believing all the reports and everything I'm seeing and hearing, the defense is really taking it to the offense. So maybe that's a reason you let the offense play a little bit in the first preseason game. And by the offense, I mean a lot of the guys. I would want to see the whole offense for a little bit. I'm not asking for a lot. Maybe a little bit just to see, is our defense that good while we're struggling, or if Ben reads them Alex Kozora training camp recap diaries, doesn't he? Or are we just struggling on offense? So Ben has yet to be out there yet. I think he's talking about maybe trying to get. He better hurry. Training camp's winding down, but Ben seems to think that he wants to see the whole offense on the field in the preseason, and maybe even preseason game number 1.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, if you're playing Rodgers, you're going to play all your healthy guys. You're not going to play shorthanded to protect Rodgers and just have the best look of your offense in general. Otherwise, what's the point of putting Rodgers out there? So if you're playing Aaron, you're going to play DK Metcalf and you're going to play Jalen Warren. You're going to play Sam Malu a little bit. You're going to play all those guys. So, and I think it's good. I mean, we'll see how the offense looks these next 2 days. I bet you Thursday will be more walkthrough, which really won't tell you much of anything. That's more just game prep type stuff. But yeah, I think with the offense struggling, the question is the offense looking rougher because the defense looks that good, or because the offense is just in rough shape right now, and that litmus test is playing somebody else? That's why these preseason games and the joint practice against Tampa Bay before that preseason game is going to be, I think, more important than usual.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. Terry McLaurin apparently wants a similar contract to DK Metcalf. That's not surprising. I've talked about that quite a bit since all this Metcalf stuff's been going on, and since DK signed his deal. I still think they get something done. Washington's going to get something done with him at some point there. I'm trying to see what else there.
Shedeur Sanders going to start the Browns
Oh
preseason
yeah,
opener.
I'll have that one on for sure.
Who do you think is the Browns' week 1 starter?
Oh, Flacco, easily. Yeah, too many people have, I mean, what are your options there at this point? I mean, Flacco's stayed healthy, and obviously he's got the experience and all like that. Kenny Pickett's missed time with a hamstring injury. Sanders had some arm fatigue or something like that he had to miss some time, and there's no way he's going to be ready. Gabriel's probably been their brightest Dylan Gabriel's probably been their brightest guy, especially when it comes to availability. But you have to, I find it hard to believe that he's going to do enough to be their week 1 guy. And
And he
then
just got hurt too, didn't he? Just the other day,
did
did he
he?
go down with something, with a hamstring or something?
He might have. So I mean, it's hard to imagine. Barring Joe Flacco, there's no way I'd roll Joe Flacco out there right now if I'm them. But I think Shedeur Sanders is going to play a lot of that game Friday night, and you can bet I'll have that's going to be on the NFL Network, I think, too. So everybody be able to watch that one.
All right, sounds good. Let me ask one other thought, Dave, and I'm writing about this for the AM. At least, hopefully, I get around to writing about this. We talk a lot about T.J. Watt moving around, right? Being less static, less predictable from that left outside linebacker spot, and you've generally endorsed the idea of moving Watt around, giving some different looks, right?
Uh-huh.
Why don't we have the same conversation about Cam Heyward, who's been strictly a right D tackle, right defensive end guy for basically his entire career? Shouldn't there be some moments where Watt and Heyward are rushing together and you have that really dynamic duo?
Yeah, sign me up. Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, this is a guy that can take advantage of any left guard, right guard, center in the league at this point, and he's got varied enough moves and all like that. Yeah, sign me up. Yeah, there should be next time Heyward gets in front of the microphone, hopefully someone ask him or Mike Tomlin about it. Might you consider doing something like that? Now, I guess on the flip side of that, the way they're bringing Harmon along has predominantly been on the left side, right?
Right,
Or
almost
correct?
exclusively on the left side on Watt's side. Yep.
So, and I suppose, if you got into, I mean, what's going to be who's going to be their two down linemen in sub package? Heyward
For the preseason game or in the regular season?
and the regular season.
Heyward and Benton are going to be your starters, but Harmon's going to filter in really, really well.
Right. So, in situations when Benton's on the field, could you flip flop the two?
Right, because your point is if Harmon hasn't worked the other side and
Right.
Heyward flips, it's kind of like whenever corners travel, can the other corner, he's got to be flexible to play everything too. So point taken there. And I know with Watt moving around, he's going to naturally be with Heyward probably a little more often whenever Watt does play on that right side. But I know TJ had made the comment about working on stunts with Harmon and getting that timing down. They had a really good rep today in O-line, D-line, a 2v2 stunt pickup where Harmon was the crasher and Watt the looper, and they had a really good rep against Fautanu and McCormick, and Watt got free, so that was good. But I know Kim Heyward is just the king of stunts and being able to subtly hold those guards so they can't pass things off, or the tackles and can't pass things off. And I just would like to see that pairing. We hear so much about Watt being static. We don't hear anything about Heyward. Now, I guess we don't hear about Heyward because Heyward's still having a great season, and he didn't have the quiet stretch that Watt did. It didn't necessitate some of those conversations about moving guys around. But I don't know if they're thinking about being multiple and being versatile. Why not get Heyward off the spot too?
And you talked about this on the wrap up podcast about how Harmon and Watt were working on the stunt and the looper and the crasher and all like that. And if you remember back the last couple of years with Ogunjobi, how many times there were a few, but there weren't a lot, but how many times did we highlight, boy, Ogunjobi did such a great job of hooking a guy or crashing to allow Watt to free up?
Not often, although frankly, didn't feel like they stunted Watt a lot, which I think was one problem where he was pretty much an outside guy. But they really would only stunt, and I don't know if this was more 2 years ago than last year, but whenever teams chip TJ Watt with a tight end or a running back, there was kind of an alert to go stunt in those moments where Watt would just, instead of trying to fight back outside off the chip or run into the chip, he would just stunt inside. It would kind of be a on the fly type of thing. So yeah, we just didn't see a whole lot of that, and whenever we did, it certainly was not effective.
I wonder, let me look at my clips for Ogunjobi that I posted last year. See about him having, now they did a cross with him and Heyward that ended up getting Heyward they did an inside stunt that he split a sack with Cam Heyward against the Colts last year. And I think that's let's see. And then I think that's really the only thing that I have from the regular season. And normally I'm good at finding if one of those guys do a good job of hooking or crashing or whatnot. I mean, Hayward's the king of it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, he knows all the tricks of the trade. We got a lot of clips of that because Heyward last year played 748 regular season non-penalty snaps. Want to guess how many he played at lefty end and lefty tackle combined?
4?
No, a little higher than that. 16.
16. Okay.
5 at lefty end and 11 at lefty tackle per my charting. So 483 at right.
How many on third down?
I mean, not many if we're out of 16. I could try to look here really quickly. I think I have my charting still up. I'm seeing maybe 3, 4. Let me look at defensive end 2. Hold on one second. Third and long you're talking about?
Just third, yeah, some sort of passive situation.
All right, so any sort of third and long situation, probably 6.
Okay.
Maybe 5.
Yeah. I maybe would be related to Harmon and them just trying to make sure he masters, that left side first and
Right.
foremost.
But like you said, Benton can do it. You can
Yeah.
do Benton on the other side, and Benton's going to still play a whole lot. So it's just a thought. It's not make or break. It's not they have to do this. I'm still one that says TJ Watt doesn't have to really move around that much. That's not the central issue to me. But I'm just saying, if we're talking about it with TJ Watt, talk about it with Cam Heyward, who, by the way, is barely even practice. I mean, he's dressing, but Tomlin's just putting this guy in bubble wrap, which is fine. It should be that way. But this guy is working very little. He's doing more hitting the blocking sled than he has hitting punching or repping against offensive lineman.
Yeah, and it sounds like that TJ Watt's not upset about getting a little bit of extra time off as well too. He said it's been great. Or wait, where's the quote here? It's not feeling like I have to be ready right now, even though I feel great. It's just slow ramp up, a slow build to the season. I don't have to have my best days right now. He went on to say, it's taking care of us, Watt said, making sure even if we want to practice, we take days off. It's just being smart. So doesn't sound like he's too terribly upset about the way he's being managed this summer.
You know, one question I would love to ask TJ Watt from something he said in that interview, he talked about, he hopes his burst is there forever. He knows it probably won't be, but he still feels like his get off time is really good right now. Is that a feel thing, or do they have objective measurements where they can time your get off? And because I know they wear those things on their jerseys that show their steps and their speed and their maxes and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything where they are quantifying what his burst and his get off is?
Yeah, I mean, don't they all wear that little button now that tracks all that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Does it track that in particular?
I would imagine it tracks everything else, right? I mean, like a start stop, or I mean, I'm sure that it measures whatever they want it to measure.
That's true. I'm sure something's out there, but I would love to know what that is and if that's what he's talking about, if it's just kind of a feel of how DJ Watt thinks his get off is. But I'm sure that will not get asked.
Yeah, somebody posted a clip I think today that Jack Sawyer actually won a get off rep against the rest of the guys today.
Oh yeah, was that in like the individual periods they do with the football on a stick?
Yeah, I think so. I think it might have been football on a stick or something. I didn't research it too deep. It just caught my eye there. Here's something else. I mean, what Jack, and we've talked about this as well too since Jack Sawyer was drafted. Look, he played a ton. I mean, he almost exclusively at left outside linebacker, or on the left side at Ohio State, right? Or correct? And so far, he's predominantly played left with the Steelers. I mean, shouldn't he have the left side and responsibilities pretty much mastered with all the snaps that he's played? Should they get him some right outside linebacker work throughout the preseason?
Yeah, they might. He's done a little bit of right outside in training camp, but obviously probably 90% on the left side. So that may come later in the summer in the preseason after he gets his first game in preseason and stadium action. Maybe they will start to move those guys around after that box gets checked. But yeah, I hear you on that. Because what if guys get hurt? You got to flip around. You don't want to have limited exposure there as a backup that's supposed to be versatile and play, especially against Herbig. I mean, Herbig is best as a right side guy. It's where a lot of his production has come from. But yeah, you want your backups to be very flexible.
All right. Anything else we got to get to before we get out of here?
I think that covers it pretty well. Anything, any reader emails to close out today's show,
Let's
Dave?
see what we have here. I got one from Bryce Harrison in here. He says, 2 questions. During the team periods of training camp, will the Steelers use personnel matching and audibles, or once at the line, do they pretty much just run whatever the offense, defense they have scripted for that down? Do you think the coaches determine ahead of time certain defensive looks against particular offensive play call, etc.? That's the first part. That's a good question.
It is. It's funny. I was thinking about that earlier today, just how a practice schedule gets made. The short answer is yes. There's some component. The defense is not unaware of what the offense wants to do. There's some coordination there. So they're not having, let's run this goal line defense against 5 wide, just a very hyperbolic example of it. But I would be curious and would love to kind of know the details on that. Do they audible? It looks like it. I saw Rodgers have a pretty in-depth change of the play, it felt like today. I think maybe even during the 2-minute period after it was an incomplete or timeout or clock stoppage of some sort. So again, that's a whole nuanced conversation about, multiple play calls and check with me's and, you have a run here and a pass here and that kind of stuff that all gets layered in. Offenses are rarely just here's one play call and it's static and just go out there and run it. But It's a really good question. I would love to have a probably better answer, but there is certainly a coordination between what the offense and defense is doing, what they're trying to accomplish on a certain player. It's really more of the period. It's really more situational of, okay, we're working early down, we're going to work first down, going to work our base install of run games and play pass. We're going to work on third down, so we're going to go with sub package versus 11 personnel. So maybe it's a little less to the play, it's a little more to the situation, and those things just align whenever you're working in the same situations.
All right, number two, part two. Do you think that mid-season we could be surprised by the production of Kenny G, or do you think he will pan out to be another Dree Archer, Anthony McFarland, Cordero Patterson? Based on Alex's reporting, I keep wondering if he may end up being the most productive running back three that the Steelers have had in quite some time. So, Kenneth Gainwell, do you think? Look, I've already gone on record thinking I think you see him a couple times a game and probably end up with more receptions than he does carries. But from what you're seeing, do you think there's a chance he might have a little bit more usage?
Yeah, I want to be careful because hope springs eternal this time of year, and then you get into the season and you focus on your playmakers. And Gainwell can be a playmaker, but he's not one of your top guys that top of mind. Who do we have to get the ball to, and all that kind of stuff. So I think he can certainly be more than a McFarland or a Dree Archer. I think the receiving component of his game is really interesting. I think Pittsburgh will be utilizing. How much can depend on some different factors, but I think he's had a good camp. And I do wonder, will he be that running back to have more receptions than carries if the group stays healthy? I think he's got a good chance to do it.
All right. That's all I'm seeing in here. A lot of people probably think we're recording this in the morning, so a lot of people are going to probably send in questions that won't get answered till potentially Friday. So if you listen to this and going to send a question, put something in there that might be pertinent to the Friday show there.
Where were you at quickly on Gainwell receptions when we talked about it before? You were at a lower number than I was, I think, on kind of a rough projection.
Probably.
You were like 15 or something?
Yeah, maybe 15, 18. I don't remember going through that exercise and getting that low. I don't remember, Alex. I can't remember. Somebody.
If you had to guess how many receptions Gainwell has as a Steeler in 2025, what would your guess be today, putting the past conversations aside? 20?
20, 21, 22, something like that. 25 is a ceiling.
Yeah, part of me wants to say higher, but I know this offense with so many mouths to feed and the ball gets spread around. I don't know. I think we'll be in that 20 to 25 range, and it wouldn't shock me if he was a bit higher than that with injuries along the way.
All right. What are you thinking for the running back group as a total then?
I put 70 as a quick round number on it.
So you like the chances of him getting maybe, let's say, a third? Well, okay, put it this way. Will he have at least a third of the total running back receptions for the season, whatever that in number ends up being?
It's a good question. You know what else?
That's probably a better way to frame it.
Right, a lot of fractions today. I will say yes, because I don't know how many passes Caleb Johnson will catch. It's not really his forte. He's going to be the rundown guy. He's caught, I think, 3 passes in team period in training camp so far. He's got 2 drops. The pass pro's been a little shaky. I think they're going to like Warren in those moments, even though Warren's been a little shaky in pass pro too, but he's got the NFL resume, and they'll like Gainwell. He can pass protect a little bit, but also he can go run routes, which then forces a linebacker to walk out, and you can't blitz that linebacker if the running back is out. And if you want to blitz that linebacker, then you got problems covering the running back. So, yeah, I'll be a little bold if that is bold. I'll take a third for Gainwell.
All right, so if this team has 75 receptions from their running backs in 2025, you expect that number to be over 25 then?
What's a third of that? 20. I mean, it's 24.75 at 1/3 of 75, which you're right at it. But yeah, I mean, to not get nitpicky, yeah, I'll take the over.
All right, I'll take the under.
All right, Dave. Anything else?
No, I think that's got it. And being as this thing's wrapping up at about 11:45 Eastern time, it's not going to be ready by midnight. I promise you that. So probably going to work on it first thing in the morning, but I'll have it up bright and early If you're listening to this, you know obviously when it's dropped, but going to have this up bright and early for Wednesday morning, and then you and I will be back Wednesday evening to recap training camp practice, and then we'll go from there. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, you can go the same route as well, too. So until Wednesday night, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.